Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome to NORML's Wednesday stream of everything that is going on across the nation regarding state policy. My name is Jax James, and I'm the State Policy Manager here at NORML. I'm also the Executive Director of Texas NORML, and I'm super excited about the Texas part of the updates today, so I can't wait to get to those. But let me go ahead and encourage everyone who's watching to comment where you're watching from in the comment section below so that we can take a look and see if there's any other states that I need to follow up on regarding legislation that's moving near you. So first, what we're going to do is go to our update for today. There's quite a few exciting updates. And first, I want to start with talking about legalization. So as you guys know, in Minnesota, there's two bills, HF 100 and SF 73, which would allow 21 and older to purchase 2 ounces of cannabis, home cultivate up to 8 plants. It also creates a system of licensed private retail cannabis businesses. Municipalities and counties could own and operate governmental dispensaries, and those with prior marijuana convictions would have their records automatically expunged. This legislation also allows for on-site consumption lounges and cannabis delivery. It does contain language banning the sale of unregulated synthetic cannabinoids, consistent with the Board of Pharmacy rules put into place last year. Now, if you were watching yesterday, you saw that HF 100 passed the House in Minnesota 71 to 59, and it is anticipated that the Senate version, SF 73, will receive a vote on the Senate floor on the 28th, so very soon. If you are in Minnesota, I definitely encourage you to participate in the action alert there, letting our senators know that you support this policy change. So now let's talk about Texas legalization, making history today here in Texas. There's a House bill by Representative Joe Moody, HB 3652, which legalizes, regulates, and taxes cannabis and cannabis products. 21 and up could possess 2.5 ounces of flower or 15 grams of cannabis. Also, you'd be able to home cultivate up to 12 plants, and there would be a 10% tax implemented on cannabis sales. The great news here is that the bill was scheduled for a hearing in the House Committee on Licensing and Administrative Procedures this morning. The hearing has already concluded, and as is customary here in Texas, bills are typically left pending until the following week for there to be a vote on them. So very excited to see this. This is going to be the first time that legalization has ever had a hearing in the state of Texas, and we could not be more excited about that. But there's another big thing going on in Texas today as we pivot to decriminalization, and that is one of our priority bills, HB 218, also by Representative Joe Moody. This bill takes two bills that have passed in previous legislative sessions and blends them together by reducing the penalties for 1 ounce of cannabis flower or less, or cannabis concentrates. It also instructs officers no longer to arrest for possession of related paraphernalia. And additionally, it facilitates a process for the expungement of past marijuana convictions. Now, HB 218 passed the House Criminal Jurisprudence Committee and is scheduled for a House vote today in the Texas House. So not only did we have history made with our first legalization hearing, but we're also going to be having a floor vote on decriminalization today. So if you are in Texas, oh my goodness, it's an exciting day. Stay tuned. We'll keep you updated as this advances. Now, having to do with medical access, a California bill, SB 302, expands the current law requiring specific types of healthcare facilities to allow terminally ill patients to use cannabis within the facility. The legislation expands the law to provide access to those patients that are at least 65 years of age and also struggle with a chronic condition. SB 302 has passed the Senate Judiciary Committee unanimously and is now scheduled for a hearing before the Senate Appropriations Committee on May 1st. Now, in Vermont, we've got HB 270, which increases the number of plants that patients can cultivate at home, allowing for 6 mature and 12 immature plants. The bill increases the maximum allowable THC content in a single cannabis product from 50 to 100 milligrams and expands the list of qualifying conditions for medical cannabis treatments, while also increasing the number of patients a caregiver may provide services for at once, removing additionally these annual registration fees for caregivers. So the update here in Vermont is HB 270 has been passed by the House of Representatives, and it is now pending a vote in the Senate Committee on Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs. So some good news on some medical advancements in both Vermont and California. So let's talk about a few more bills. And I definitely want to look at the comments, see where you guys are watching from. Looks like we've got a couple people from Texas watching today. Super excited about that. And definitely continue to comment where you're watching. If we don't go over your state today, I do want to encourage you to go to normal.org/act, and you'll see a dynamic map there at the top, and you can hover over your state and you'll see a list of legislation that you can participate in the action alerts for. So I definitely encourage, if you don't hear your state's name called out today, go and check out that great resource. Now, there has been a slew of bills that have been introduced in Maine. We've got legislative document 1646, which establishes a system to provide expungement of convictions specific to possession of marijuana. It also creates a fund to pay for expungement filing charges. Additionally, legislative document 1789 expunges all records relating to criminal convictions or civil violations involving any marijuana conduct. So there's an action alert there to support those two bills. Additionally, legislative document 1647 creates provisions prohibiting certain employers from discriminating against workers based solely on a positive test for the presence of marijuana metabolites. Additionally, in Maine, legislative document 1680 allows for licensed businesses to engage in the delivery of marijuana to residential homes and businesses as long as they're not in a designated safe zone. A nursery cultivation would be permitted to sell seedlings and immature plants to consumers, as well as the supplies necessary to grow cannabis. Now, this LD 1680 in Maine is pending a vote in the House Veterans and Legal Affairs Committee. Legislative document 1311 amends state law so that those that are on parole, pretrial release, or supervised release are not discriminated against solely based on their use of cannabis. Now we've got North Carolina and Nevada that I want to touch on. In Nevada, AB 411 allows doctors to administer non-smoked formulations of medical marijuana to patients in certain hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, or hospice care. Now, AB 411 passed the House 29-13, and it is heading to the Senate. So those are some great improvements there in Nevada. In North Carolina, Senate Bill 705 classifies the possession of an ounce, 1.5 ounces or less of cannabis or hashish as an infraction instead of a misdemeanor, in addition to facilitating a process for the expungement of past convictions. So some important legislation there in North Carolina. So if you're watching earlier this week, over the weekend, I guess technically is correct, you probably saw the great news in Delaware. So Delaware has companion bills, HB1 and HB2. HB1 removes all penalties for possession for those that are over 21. A personal use amount of cannabis, any above that would remain unclassified misdemeanor. And that personal quantity is an ounce or less of leaf cannabis, 12 grams or less of concentrates or cannabis products containing 750 milligrams or less of Delta-9 THC. That bill was ignored into law by Democratic Governor John Carney, and he has promised that he would allow both of these bills to become law absent his signature. So on Wednesday, so tonight at midnight, I think it would be, HB 2, otherwise known as the Delaware Marijuana Control Act, which regulates adult use sales, promotes equality and inclusion to those that have been disproportionately impacted. That bill will also become law. So Delaware is now going to be a state where you will be able to purchase legal cannabis products in the future, and where you will no longer be penalized for personal possession of an ounce or less. So some really amazing things happening across the country today. So again, I want to encourage everyone who is watching to click the blog, read all of the updates. Also go to normal.org/act so that you can hover over your state, because all of the bills that I talked about today are not all of the bills. There are definitely hundreds of bills that we are following across the country, and definitely make sure that you check out and support any and all bills that are moving in your state. And then lastly, I want to encourage you to reach out to your local chapter. You can go to normal.org/chapters, see if there's one near you, and then get engaged so that you can be boots on the ground in your state. Now, if there's not a chapter, there is a way to start your own chapter, and it'll take you to that process on how to do it. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. It's been great to share some of these exciting updates, two of which are from my home state here, Austin. So happy to be in the capital city while these advancements are taking place. So thanks for tuning in, friends. Until next week.